Under Section 8, Part 20, the resources for this lecture are Udemy Lesson 1, Exercise 3, functions_array.pdf. If you download this, it goes into your downloads. If you bring it up in Firefox, you can triple click on it, right mouse click and copy. Then we can go up here in Embed Studio, File, Import Program, paste the link. Make sure we link to an existing shared Embed OS instance and add program. Now, if we want to focus on our program here, we can go to View under Embed Studio. We can go down here and say Toggle Bottom Panel. What that does is it gets rid of this and lets us see more of our program on one screen. Also, we go over to this big S here, we click on that, and it will then get rid of this, and clicking on it again brings it back. And again, we can go to View here, Toggle Bottom Panel, and get everything back exactly the same. Now, all of our programs are going to start with number sign include embed.h. We have here number sign define max 80. Now you can see here we've got an unsigned char name, which is an array of characters, and max is going to be the dimension, so it's going to have 80 characters in it. Now we can easily change this max value here to anything we want, and you'll see why later. When you trace through programs as you normally do on most PCs and other computers, you actually see these variables sitting in the variables list. But unfortunately, when you're working with a microcontroller, to make it work the same way, is you have to define these things to be volatile. And volatile will mean that they will be forced into RAM so that you can see them in the variables list. If you don't put the word volatile in here, what happens is that it tries to move it through CPU registers to minimize the amount of RAM that it's going to use, because RAM is very precious on microcontrollers. Now notice up here we have some functions. These are called function prototypes, where we say void, so nothing's coming back, nothing's going in, and it's just clear. Now you notice down here we've got the clear function call, and the clear description here says clear the screen. And how does it do that? If we look down to the bottom here, we have void, clear void, and the actual function definition. And it says printf quote \e left square bracket 2j, which, as you know, clears the display. Then we do an flush standard out. Now the way it works is that as soon as it does the clear function call here, it goes down, does the clear function. When it's finished, it's going to come right back to the next function, which is our position function. Now it says void position integer x integer y, so it's going to pass in a 1 and a 1 here. And then down here it says position integer x integer y, and it's going to printf \e left square bracket %d, which is going to be that 1 semicolon 1 capital H, which is going to position us in the top left corner of our screen, and it's going to do an flush standard out. Now if we look at the rest of the code here, it's going to say input your name, and it's going to then get a character from the standard input, which is our keyboard, put it into name of 0, which is the first element of the arrays. Arrays start with element 0 through, in our case, element 79, because that's what max is defined as 80. It's one less than that. Now it's going to flush standard out, and then it's going to go into a while loop here. And while it's not equal to 0x0d, because it's waiting for our return or enter key here, it's going to get a character, put it in the array, and it's going to check to see, did I hit the delete character? And if you hit the delete character, we want to do is put in a backspace so we can see that it's backing up. Now, as soon as it does hit an enter key, what it's going to do is come out here, and it's going to take the last element of the array and change it to a null or a 0, 0. The reason for that is later on when we try to print a string here, which is name, it has to be null terminated. All strings have to be null terminated. Now you'll notice here that it's got max minus I over 2. What that means, if you got an 80 character screen, which we're starting up with, it's going to make sure that it's going to position it in the middle of that 80 characters, and that text that you type into the array will be centered properly. Later, what we can do is, if we want to have a different size screen, because our screens here, when we're using the serial monitor, can be any size, we can change this and everything just works automatically. Now let's put our screens back to our normal. So what we're going to do next is we're going to run. And again, what it's going to do is it's going to compile the entire Embed operating system, which it always does. Now when it's finished compiling the program and it's starting to run, it says input all your name here, ? And it's waiting for me to type something in. But because we're going to be doing this and we want a bigger screen, we can right mouse click, say toggle maximized, and then we can use the magnify function to make it a little bigger, and click here. Now if I say David Ross, and it's going to hit enter, it's going to center it there. If I go back here and say David Ross, and then I decide, well, maybe I shouldn't do that, I can back up here, and notice every time I hit the delete button, it's actually backing up and using a Control H, which is our backspace. I'm going to put Daniel Ross, and hit enter. And you notice that it's only going to put the part that I'm expecting up there because I deleted some characters. So that's basically how the program runs. Now let's go back. So I'm going to change that to 120. And I'm going to compile again, which shouldn't take too long. And when we're waiting for that to happen, I'm going to toggle maximized again and make it a little bigger. At this point, it's ready to run. And if I say David Ross this time, it's going to now format that in the center of a 120 column screen, because the screens that we've got here in the serial monitor can be any size at all.